Hi everyone, we're going to continue working on enharmonic notes today. And before we do that, we're going to review the previous couple lessons. First, the piano keyboard and how to construct and label that. And second, the enharmonic note writing. So if you remember from last time, we learned how to draw and label the piano keyboard. Once you've drawn your piano keyboard, you have to remember that you have two groups of black notes. You've got a group of two black notes, and then you've got a group of three black notes together, black keys. You need to do your group of two black keys, and then you skip one, and then you're going to do another group of three. Once you have that done, to label your notes, we looked for the group of two black keys, went to the left-hand side, and that note is C. Once you have your C, you can name them alphabetically up and down just on the white keys. The next step is to add your sharps. Remember when we're adding sharps that a sharp raises a note by a semitone. Raise goes to the right. They both start with R. So we're going to take our C and we're going to go up to C sharp. Then we're going to take our D and raise it to D sharp, E and raise it to E sharp. And remember, there's no black key here. So when we label our E sharp, we have to make sure we're labeling it on the F. Continue naming your sharp notes all the way up. You can go as high as you want, but you need to have at least an octave labeled. Then we're going to add the flats. So remember, when you add a flat lowers a note by one semitone, and when you lower something, you go to the left. They both start with L. So here you start with your C, you're going to lower it by one semitone, and you're going to go to C flat. Just like the E to E sharp, C to C flat also stays on a white key. Then B to B flat, A to A flat, and so on. If you stopped here, this would get you about 8 out of 10 marks, and you have to add the last few labels in order to get full marks on the quiz we'll do later on. And here's how you finish it up. So you also need to add an octave. Remember, an octave is C to C or D to D, and you need to just show me that you know what that is. You can pick any two letters that you want. For a semitone, you need to label one semitone. Remember, a semitone is one note and its closest neighbor. You can choose D to D sharp, C to C sharp, B to B flat. I like to label E to F or B to C just because they're the easiest ones to see. You can write them right below the keyboard. A whole tone is two consecutive semitones. So if you see, we have A to A sharp and A sharp to B. So I've labeled A to B as my whole tone. This would get you 10 marks total, and this is where we're going to start our enharmonic note assignment. To review from the enharmonic note lesson we did last time, remember that an enharmonic note, it's two names for the same note or the same key on the piano. Another way to remember this is to think of each key on the keyboard or each note as a superhero. One of the names for the note is Clark Kent, and the other is his secret identity, Superman. They are the same person, but they go by two names. Just like on the keyboard, G flat and F sharp are on the same key, but you can call them two different names. Now that you're comfortable using the piano to find enharmonic notes, let's answer the same kind of questions, but we're going to do them on the staff. You'll be given a note on the staff. Your job is to name the note, find its enharmonic note, draw it on the staff, and label both of those notes. So we'll work through an example together. So if you can't remember the lines and spaces off the top of your head, remember for the treble clef, the spaces are F, A, C, E, and the lines are every good boy deserves fudge. So F, A, C, this is a C sharp. So we're going to label it C sharp down below. Make sure you use uppercase letters. Write it directly under the note that you're naming, and don't write it on the staff. It needs to be down below like this. Then we're going to add its enharmonic note name. So we're going to look on our keyboard, find C sharp, and find the other name for it, and write it beside on the staff. So in this case, it's D flat. Now we're going to draw D flat on the keyboard or on the staff like this. This is the same example in bass clef. And remember, if you're naming your bass clef notes and you can't remember exactly what they are, the spaces are all cows eat grass. And for the lines, you've got a few options. George Bush died Friday afternoon. Great big dragons fly around. A quick tip when you're doing these: if your question is in a space, the answer is going to be on a line either directly above or below it. If your question is on a line, the answer is going to be on a space directly above or below it. Some common mistakes that students make that can lose marks for them: writing on two spaces or two lines. Make sure that if your question's on a space, the answer's on a line and vice versa. Not labeling both of the notes. They label the first one or neither of them, and they just draw it on the staff. Each bar is worth 3 notes, and if you don't label them, you're going to lose 2 marks right there. Writing accidentals on the wrong side of the note. And we'll look at that in just a moment on the staff. Coloring in whole notes. A whole note colored in is not a thing. If it's colored in, it has to have a stem. And writing in the wrong octave, which we're also going to look at briefly. So when you're writing your sharps and flats, you want to put the accidental before the note when it appears on the staff. This is so when you're writing a piece of music or playing a piece of music, you know what fingers to press down before you get to the note. If I put this flat on the right side, the first thing I would see is the D, and I would put my fingering down to make sure that the D was played correctly. However, the flat would come after, and I'd have to change my fingering. When I put the flat beforehand, I know what fingers to press down to play D flat. When you're writing it below the staff or on an assignment that's anywhere else on an exam or test that isn't on a staff, you're going to write it the way you say it. So D flat, C sharp. So we've started to answer this question. This is a D flat. I've looked on my keyboard and I know the enharmonic note name for it is C sharp. However, a lot of students do this. They put the C sharp up here, F, A, C. And while that is a C sharp, it's not the same key as the keyboard. So if we look, here is D, and here's D flat. So D flat was the question, and they answered by putting C sharp. C sharp, the one they drew, is way up here. It's an octave apart. You need to actually label the exact same key. This is not okay. What you need to do is use ledger lines and write it in the appropriate octave. So D flat, and remember it needs to be on a line above or below it. In this case, you need to go below. You need to add a ledger line, and you need to make it a C sharp. So that's it for the enharmonic note names. If you have any questions, you can either write a comment below, send me an email, or ask in class, and I can clear anything up for you.